News Prime.
This is Joy News Prime here on Joy News on Multi TV, and my name is Israel. Coming up, Electoral Commission and Stakeholder Forum on Voters Register with a caution that compiling a new register could prove problematic. Power Minister declares the days of cheap power are over and that Ghanaians should be prepared to pay more for electricity, even as government works towards ending the current energy crisis. People engaged in illegal mining could face jail terms of up to 5 years in new bill currently before Parliament.
Businesses to pay for taxes they are currently being exempted from paying beginning 2016. We'll tell you why in business. Also in the bulletin, palm oil vendors voluntarily submit their stocks to the Food and Drugs Authority for testing for possible traces of the cancer-causing dye Sudan 4. In the second hour of this bulletin, we'll bring you entertainment, sports and the feedback segment where we read your messages from social media. This bulletin is also available across Europe on ABN television. Stay tuned. In our very first story, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, says opening a new voters register or opening new voter registration centers to compile a new voters register can be recipe for chaos. She said given the entrenched positions adopted by the two main political parties attempting to undertake registration for an entirely new electoral roll may have serious security problems. Making a presentation to the panel, the EC has set up to consider proposals for or against a new voters register. Mrs. Osei said the social context of politics cannot be ignored. She said the EC desires to have a credible voters register and will work with the political parties and civil society organizations to get one.
Biometric technology was chosen to tackle the multiple registration challenge. In March 2011, the procurement process started. The EC had assistance from the UN and EU consultants in preparing the specifications for the system they were going to procure. The objectives of the system were we needed speed and accuracy in the compilation of the register. We needed to eliminate multiple registrations. We needed to lay the foundation for a system of continuous registration and updating of the register. In terms of the actual exercise, it was required under the law that anyone applying for registration needed to produce either a passport, a driver's license, an existing voter ID card, a national identity card, or a national health insurance card. Otherwise, if you didn't have any of this, you required the sworn evidence of two people who were already on the register. There was the registration kit. It came with a computer, a webcam, so your picture could be taken at the registration center, a fingerprint scanner, the micro AFI software. That's a software that analyzes the biometric fingerprints, and then an inkjet scanner so we could print the forms and the cards at the center. So at the center, the data was captured directly, and then daily or depending on technology infrastructure, it was periodically updated. Data was transmitted to the District Office of the Commission and then directly to a central database of the EC via the Commission's network. Now, the main thing is that the biometric system that we currently have, it segregates multiple entries based on your biometric details. And so it won't use your face, but if the same set of fingerprints appear, the system would capture that and put it on a segregated list. The system also creates an exception list based on the time and date of registration. So if, for instance, the date fixed, publicized or fixed for registration is the 1st to the 6th of March, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you are registered at 6 p.m. within those dates, you'll go into the exception list. If you are registered on the 8th of March, you'll go into the exception list. And so this system was used to identify multiple registrations, because you will walk into a registration center, you can register. You can go to another registration center on the same day and register. However, when we upload everything to the central database, then it would isolate the multiple registrations. So this was basically supposed to reduce fraud of the public and by the public.
So what's next after the EC's forum on the voters register? Let's hear from the NDC's Director of Elections, Samuel Fosu-Ampofo.
I believe that when we talk about biometric data, it is not about photograph. It's about thumb printing of the individuals. And so for me, I do not see the reason why you go and staple a picture and put it on a register and think that on election day somebody can go and use it to vote. And the second one has to do, for instance, the Burkina Faso, where they say they have tracked about 12,000 plus names. And it was very clear from their own submissions that the Burkina Faso register did not have pictures. So you ask yourself, how do you track 12,000 people whom you claim are Ghanaians just merely based on the names that you see? Because that is not credible enough. So I think that the Electoral Commission will have an opportunity to respond to some of these issues. Indeed, the fact that somebody comes and says 1,000 Togolese people are on the register is a claim that they have to go beyond the allegation and prove. They haven't proved anything. All they said is this. You see, we have a time-tested principle, as the General Secretary of our party said yesterday, that if you see that somebody's name is on the register, which ought not to be there, first you have to challenge that individual. That individual reserves the right, to come and defend himself or herself. So if you say 76,000, each individual who is being alleged to be a Togolese ought to appear before a registration review committee for the person to come and defend himself. And the onus is on you, who is saying that the person is a Togolese, to prove that he's a Togolese. And so the question does not end that MPP comes here and present some pictures and say that 76,000 Togolese, and then we are using as a basis to do any argument. I do not.
Members of the NDC in the Lejokuku constituency in the Greater Accra region have destroyed the voters register, which was supposed to have been used in the party's primaries next month. They claim the register was bloated. Constituency Secretary of the NDC, Isaac Atipo, told Joy News one of the candidates influenced the addition of foreign names to the register.
Fortunately for us, we have 4 aspirants. All the 4 aspirants, it is only 3 who are saying they want to go with our stance, the stance we've taken. One person is saying no way. He wants the register to be exhibited the way it is. And that is Daniel Amate Mensah. The constituency is expecting 8,142 registered members and not 11,000 as we are made to believe. Again, we are asking region to query where the 66 extra booklets are coming from. Again, Daniel Amate Mensah has been able to register members, and as we speak now, they are having their voter ID cards or their biometric NDC ID cards with them. Whilst the appropriate institution, that is the constituency executive, the mandated institution, is able to acquire just 3. So the question again is, where did Daniel Amate Mensah get his cards from? We need answers to that question as well.
Staying with the NDC, some members of the governing party in all the traditional areas of the Ketu South constituency have demonstrated against the party in what they term as an injustice in the disqualification of 2 aspirants, Jim Morte and Albert Ziga. These members sense a bit of foul play in the process that led to the disqualification of the 2 aspirants. They are therefore blaming the incumbent MP, who is also the current Minister of Agriculture, Fifi Kwete, and some party executives in the constituency. Regional correspondent Ivy Setoji joins me on the phone line with more. Good evening to you, Ivy. What are these members saying exactly?
Well, actually, these members are saying that they want the disqualified aspirants to be back in the race. That is Albert Ziga and Jim Morte. According to them, even though these people were disqualified, they claim it was not officially communicated to them, but it was only said on air, or the executives came on air in a local city in Lateral to tell them that this was what happened. And now they need development, and there are no developments coming in the municipality. So they need someone who can develop it. So they believe that there is 2 people, that is either in Moti or the one the wherever they want to. So that is now why they took the month.
All right, we have to leave it here, Ivy. Unfortunately, your line is not very clear, and so we'd have to move on to other stories. But we're taking a break at this point. We'll be back with more stories. Please don't go away. You're watching Joy News Prime. Empower Minister Kwabena Donkor is standing by the pledge to see an end to the current energy crisis before the end of this year, except the solutions will come at quite a cost to consumers. Speaking at the sword-cutting ceremony for work to begin on an electricity substation at Dawa in the Greater Accra region, he explained the country is having to increasingly rely on thermal plants, which are more expensive compared to the traditional hydropower from the Akosombo Dam. He says the dwindling contribution from hydro to the energy generation mix means that though there will be enough electricity to go around by the end of December this year, the days of cheap power are over.
Akosombo, which has been the backbone of our generation sector, is dwindling. As we speak, Akosombo is generating less than 500 megawatts out of an installed capacity of 1,020 megawatts. But more importantly, the component of legacy hydro in our generation mix is diminishing. By the end of this year, VRA estimates that Akosombo will constitute less than 40% of VRA's own generation and less than 30% in 2 years of Ghana's total generation. This has serious cost impact. Akosombo generates at less than 2 cents per kilowatt hour. Our thermal assets generate at an average of 13-14 cents per kilowatt hour. And therefore, the cost implications must be clear. And therefore, the days of cheap power are over. If we are going to meet the increasing demand for power, we will have to turn to other sources.
Meanwhile, the Power Minister has been explaining the recent deterioration in the electricity supply situation is a result of challenges confronting the utility companies, but says those problems are being addressed. Speaking in an interview with Joy News, Kwabena Donkor also touched on the privatization of the Electricity Company of Ghana and debt-owed NGAS for natural gas supplies.
When the compact kicks in, eventually, probably from 2017, Ghana is pushing for competition at the retail end of the business. We are still in negotiations. That has not been crystallized yet, and therefore it's still work in progress.
In your statement, you said that days of cheap power are over. What exactly did you mean by that?
Well, the Akosombo Dam has historically provided us with very cheap power when it generates at less than 2 cents per kilowatt hour. And this is what has enabled Ghana become the cheapest source of power in the sub-region. However, as the role of Akosombo diminishes and we now have to have a lot more thermal complementation, and the thermal plants currently generate at about 13-14 cents per kilowatt hour, the mix makes the marginal cost of any additional megawatt higher. And therefore, if we are to sustain the industry, then cost must be reflected in the price we pay for power. And that is why that statement is made.
Beyond the thermal plants you talk about, does it give credence to suggestions that the other alternatives like the barges could be so expensive for Ghana to go for?
It depends on what you call expensive. You see, fundamentally, what we should be zeroing in on are the capacity and the fixed O&M charges. Fuel is passed through. So irrespective of the fuel source, it's just added on. How much are we contracting? What is the capacity charge? What is the fixed O&M? And that is where this ministry is working on to reduce capacity charges and fixed O&M charges. Fuel is historically fuel is historically passed through. Yes, other forms, solar waste to energy. They are going to be far more expensive than legacy hydro. And therefore, we should brace ourselves for more cost-reflective tariffs. We are not going to have another Akosombo. It is not possible. As a nation, we have exhausted all our major hydro sources. Any other new hydro source is going to be what we term small dams and mini dams, and they are by definition more expensive.
All right, talking about fuel, what arrangements are in place to ensure that we have enough money to fuel these plants we are putting up, because that has been one of the main challenges?
Yes, if you take VRA for example, throughout 2014, if you take the total tariff of VRA, that total tariff has been inadequate to pay for crude and gas, whether imported or local. So there is a fundamental issue that we have to address as a people. It doesn't matter which government is in power, but as a nation state, we have to confront that situation, that where your tariff is insufficient to pay for fuel, no business can survive long term. You will only be postponing the inevitable. And therefore, as a people, we will have to pay cost-reflective tariff. But as individuals, we can mitigate this by becoming more energy efficient.
What would you say is the power situation now? Is it improving or deteriorating?
Well, it depends on where you stand and how you define improvement and deterioration. For example, yesterday we shared less than we were sharing last week. Last week there was a technical problem coming from Itoku in Nigeria. They had technical issues with their pumps, and when you have technical issues with their pumps, then it means the gas reaching us will be inadequate. This has nothing to do with our commercial relationships.
And how far with arrangements to pay and gas?
How far?
Yes.
We don't discuss commercially sensitive information in the open.
About 100 vendors of palm oil have voluntarily handed over gallons of palm oil to the Food and Drugs Authority to test if they are safe for human consumption. This has come in the wake of reports some vendors had been adulterating palm oil with Sudan 4, a cancer-causing dye, to give it a more attractive color.
The FDA has conducted surveys in 10 major markets in Accra since news broke about the use of Sudan 4 dye in palm oil aimed at giving it reddish coloring. 98% of palm oil samples collected from 10 markets in the national capital tested positive for carcinogens. Today's recall exercise by the authority, according to the head of Food Safety Management Department, Ms. Maria Abba Lovelace Johnson, forms part of efforts aimed at removing adulterated palm oil from the markets. She says vendors whose products fail the test will be made to face the full force of the law.
When we find that they have the Sudan dye, we will really let the law apply to them. You know, the Act 851, that's the Public Health Act 2012, states it categorically that if you adulterate food, it is an offense. If you put in food any substance that is poisonous or injurious to health, you have committed an offense. So it is so clear that that is an offense if it is that there is Sudan 4 dye in it.
So we should expect some punitive action?
Oh yes, we are actually dealing with the drug law enforcement units of the police CID. They are here with us. That is the CID man just over there. They are here with us. The people are in their custody as of now, and when we do get more, they will definitely deal with them. They are here doing their own investigations as well, so the law will take its course.
The public and the Food and Drugs Authority have blamed the vendors and the producers of the product for the adulteration. But the Secretary of Palm Oil Sellers Association at the Medina Market, Madam Sandra Danso, blames the phenomenon on customers. She says the customers get what they want.
We don't know whether they've mixed it with Sudan dye. That's why we are bringing all out. And they will bring another, the new one. From next week going, they will bring the new one. And we will invite the Food Rights Board people to come back and test the new ones they brought to see if there's still Sudan dye. At times when we are selling, some of the customers who will come and buy, they will come and look at your oil and they will say this water is not nice. I want the one which is pure red, and they will leave you and go.
You think that is why we have some of your members mixing it with the Sudan 4 dye?
Yes. It's because of the consumers. They are doing that.
The FDA says the exercise will continue until they get rid of all adulterated palm oil from the markets.
People convicted for engaging in illegal mining, popularly known as galamsey, could face up to 5 years in jail. Parliament agreed on Friday on the punishment regime for illegal miners in a bid to address the wanton destruction of land, rivers and water bodies. Chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament, Alhaji Amadou Surugu, tells Joy News the amended bill offers stiffer punishment for offenders.
Our water bodies are polluted to the standard to be able to turn just simple water into potable one. You need a lot of chemicals. And so we think that we should serve serious notice to those who are engaged in illegal activities. So it is now 5 years. Product may be several other things: gold, dust, alluvia, shovels, graders, caterpillars, bulldozers, they are equipment. And so we should not give a minimum time limit of 30 days if the court confiscate. And so after a long debate, we did a lot of amendments. I proposed amendments which were accepted, others came in, and we agreed that 60 days. But I still have a small problem with the institutions, state institutions, because you will recollect that you go to some of the mining companies, equipment are there, no state institutions are interested. Are we going to leave those equipment to rot? Democracy is numbers. I did my best, but I was overvoted, and so I had to give in. But I still think that we should have had a way by which those equipment which may not be needed by the state institutions can be auctioned to the public. There are some private mining companies that are legal that may need those equipment, and so why do we have to limit ourselves to only state institutions? What about if the state institutions are not interested in those equipment? Are we going to allow them to rot? Are we not going to allow an auction to take place so that we can make some money? That is the problem. But the end of it is that after long debate, it was passed, and we all had to agree.
Minister for Lands and Natural Resources Nyosa Mills is hopeful the bill, when passed into law, will deter especially foreigners from engaging in small-scale mining reserved for only Ghanaians.
The law makes provision for, foreigners who are found carrying out that activity of illegal mining to be punished, fined as well, if according to the judge's discretion, and sets a lower limit for fines and an upper limit for fines, and a lower limit for fines and an upper limit and also a lower limit for jail terms or prison terms, and an upper limit as well. But then the law is such that it affects both Ghanaians as well as foreigners who are found carrying out the illegal activities. And so I think it's going to deter them. The power is there in the law. It says that the minister will allocate to the, it's not a law, but it's a bill. So let's say that the section speaks about the minister allocating the equipment or product to the appropriate state institution. I'm quoting from the bill. And so then when would the minister do that? How long would the minister have to do that? And that is what was debated, and it was finally agreed that it should be done within 60 days.
Watching Joy News Prime, we're taking a break. When we come back, we bring you business news. Please don't go away. Right, so I'd wish that Abigail Eduma-Quinchu, who joins me with business, would have some better news for us, except she's just saying taxes, taxes, taxes.
Yeah, I wish I would give you some good news, especially when we are told to brace ourselves to pay more for power.
Exactly.
Looks like businesses would also have to brace themselves to pay more taxes.
Oh, no.
2016. Well, I'm hopeful, but looks like it's going to be tough.
We're all hopeful.
Yeah. Well, let's get the details to viewers now. Businesses should brace themselves to pay for some taxes they're currently being exempted from paying beginning 2016. This is because the Finance Ministry is looking at reviewing these tax exemptions as part of the 2016 budget.
According to analysts, the country loses millions of dollars every year in revenue because of exemptions granted to some businesses. However, with the current challenges facing the economy in terms of declining earnings in its exports, there's pressure on government by its development partners to review these exemptions to improve tax collections to help take care of its rising expenditure. Joy Business is learning that some of the areas that might be affected will include operations of free zones companies. This will result in these firms currently enjoying tax holidays, and some areas set aside 25% of their profit as taxes to be paid to the state from the current 8%. Also, some exemptions granted on raw materials and imported products are expected to be reviewed. Government is also looking at taking away the power given to Parliament and the Ghana Investment Promotion Center to grant tax exemptions to businesses and some state institutions. This should mean that the Finance Ministry will have the sole power to grant exemptions if there need be. However, there are fears that the decision to remove the tax exemptions might increase the cost of production for some firms, a development that could result in prices of goods and services going up.
Watching Joy News Prime now to the rest of our stories. Police dispatch rider died in Kumasi on Friday morning from injuries sustained in a road traffic accident. Lance Corporal Promise Kweku Dua was riding in the convoy with Ashanti Regional Minister when the accident occurred on Thursday evening. Superintendent Frank Abrakwa is the head of the Police Motor Traffic Transport Department in the Ashanti region.
Lance Corporal Promise Kweku Dua was returning with the regional minister from a trip from Jakubu area. On reaching a section of the road around closer to Amiankwanta, according to an eyewitness, a trotro driver was directly facing the motor rider and was sort of dodging a pothole. So to avoid a head-on collision, the motor rider decided to swerve, and in the process was involved in an accident. So he was picked up and sent to a hospital closer to the junction at Amiankwanta, where he passed on.
How is the police administration within the region treating this?
We are treating it as an accident, and we are investigating. From what the eyewitness told us, there was no contact with the vehicle. So the truck driver just drove away. They couldn't even take the number. So we're treating it as a pure accident and we are investigating.
Right, Erastus Asare Donko, Ashanti region correspondent, has been speaking to the police there, and he joins us on the line right now. Good evening to you, Erastus. Has the regional minister said anything about the death of Corporal Dua?
Well, he has paid a visit to the family of the deceased, and the Regional Coordinating Council has also issued a press release, and portions of it reads that the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council shares this moment of pain, grief and sorrow with the bereaved family of the late Lance Corporal Kweku Dua, the police officer who lost his life. And then the council also wishes to extend similar message of sorrow and regret to the police administration in the Ashanti region. He goes on to say that as a dispatch rider, he accompanied the minister to attend the commissioning ceremony of a hospital at Chiapiase in the Amantie Central District, where he met his untimely death. So I have heard that they are planning to put in every measure as per the rudiments of the police service to try and cater for the 8-year-old daughter of the policeman.
All right, thank you very much, Erastus Asare Donko, joining us from Kumasi.
The linguistics professor at the University of Ghana is backing moves by the Education Minister to implement a language policy that will ensure the pupils in the first 3 primary classes are taught in a local dialect. According to Dr. Jemima Anderson, when children learn in a familiar language in their formative years, it allows them to better understand the subjects even when there is a change in language in subsequent years. She was speaking to Joy News after a colloquium on language and education organized by the Department of Linguistics at the University of Ghana.
Ghana's language policy has been a subject of debate for a while now. In 2002, then Minister of Education, Professor Amir Okunfi, said government had to adopt English as a medium of instruction for children in primaries 1 to 3 because of lack of resources, inadequate relevant textbooks in Ghanaian languages, and insufficient teachers with Ghanaian language proficiency to implement the former policy. However, the current Minister of Education, Professor Jane Opoku-Agyeman, has resurrected the argument surrounding the language policy with a recent statement suggesting her ministry will ensure pupils in the first 3 primary classes are taught using a local dialect. She seems to have garnered the support of Dr. Jemima Anderson of the University of Ghana's Department of Linguistics, who is advocating that the pupils are taught using their predominant language and not necessarily a predominant language in their area of residence.
It is usually easy to identify one predominant language that is used in that locality or in that community. Not the language of the locality per se, but the language of the pupils in the classroom. So you have a higher percentage of the pupils in the classroom speaking one particular language or the other. So in some places where you go, let's say if you find yourself in a Ghana-speaking area, you have more pupils in that classroom who speak Akan, for example. You won't be helping them if you use the Ghana. It will be better for them to use the Akan, which they are more familiar with.
To buttress her point, Dr. Anderson says children who speak more than 3 languages develop better than those who speak a single language.
The children who are growing up speaking multiple languages, those children are at an advantage. I mean, they have an edge over people who are going to grow up being solely monolingual. If people relegate the local languages to the background and introduce their children to English and don't give them a strong sense of a strong proficiency in the indigenous languages or the local languages, those children grow up being monolingual. And we know that monolingualism does not, nobody really benefits from being monolingual.
For now, the language policy remains a mere policy. What remains to be seen is how the Education Ministry implements this policy. For Joy News, Derek Sam.
Well, Education Minister Professor Jane Opoku-Agyeman would like to see more Ghanaians learn to speak more than one language. She says citizens who speak 3 or more languages live peacefully with other members of society. She was speaking at the colloquium on language and education organized by the Department of Linguistics at the University of Ghana.
Multilingualism, finally, is important for world peace, contrary to what we have been educated about, that when we have too many languages and so on, then we don't know how to get together. But we've always known how to get together. And I refer to Ayoko Yama's novel when he says that we are not a generation of yesterday. We've been here for a long time. Everybody tells us that life began on this continent. If that is true, then language began on this continent. And if that is true, then it's all right that we have many languages. And we have cooperated despite the diversity of languages, and we intend to do the same.
On to the rest of our stories, and health officials are expressing concern over what they describe as an increasing case of rabies infections among children. Resident doctor at the Kolbu Teaching Hospital Child Health Department, Dr. Hilda Mantebia Boy, is urging parents to be quick in reporting any instance of dog bites for treatment. Matilda Pelmega has more.
Rabies is an infectious viral disease that is almost always fatal following the onset of clinical signs. Statistics from the Kolbu Teaching Hospital's Child Health Department indicate 6 children have died from the rabies between January and September 2015. There were 4 cases in the whole of 2014.
We have quite a number of people dying from rabies. About 4 years ago, I think we had about 7 people dying from rabies. About 3 years ago, we had about 4 or so. The year after, we had about 3. Last year, we had about 4. And then this year, we've had about 6 already. Once you get a dog bite, you need to get the rabies vaccines. And the vaccines, it's not just one shot that you need. There are 5 shots which are spread out in about a month. So there is a schedule for it. On the day that you get the bite, you get 1. On the 3rd day, you get another 1. On the 7th day, you get another 1. On the 21st and then the 28th day, you get another 1. If you don't get the vaccine on the same day that you had the bite, it doesn't matter. All that is important is that you get the vaccines, because if you don't get the vaccines and the symptoms of rabies start, there's nothing that can be done to save you. You will die. And it's a totally preventable death. The illness is totally preventable. That is, if you have the rabies vaccines, you will not get rabies. So why should people still die from rabies?
Dr. Mantebia Boy said other stakeholders must also collaborate with the various health facilities to prevent further increase in the numbers of the viral infection. Dr. Mantebia Boy also advised health workers in rural areas and clinics that do not have rabies vaccines to refer people who have been bitten by dogs to well-equipped health facilities. Matilda Pamagan for Joy News.
Right, it's time now for entertainment, and I have a different person sitting in the seat tonight. There's no Miss G, it's Gladys Osei, who's also another G anyway.
G in the house.
Another G in the house. Good evening to you, Gladys.
Hi, Izzy. Good evening.
All right. I'm sure people are going to see the chemistry between the two of us again, and
there'll be another.
And they will say,
flirting on air.
You know, they're saying.
But you know what will happen then? It will just give you a mark.
Probably you can say that I get along very well with the entertainment ladies.
You probably get along very well with everybody, especially the female, yeah?
All right, let's get on to entertainment.
Yes, you know, it's been quite an eventful week, and we have a lot of the entertainment stakeholders calling on the industry and government to actually show a lot more interest in investing in the brands within the industry. And we had, Dentar coming up to say because we don't show enough investment interest in the brands, they are not growing. Now we have Amanziba, who is actually calling on the state to have fixed structures that would show the interest and make sure that even when governments change, the state still ensures that there is this policy that supports the industry. But of course, he's a musician, so he's talking for the musicians. Okay. But of course, we can listen to Amanziba telling us more about that.
We should rather encourage by, upping up the finances of the artist, because you can be of the highest quality, but minus finance that propels you to the real world of stardom is what is lacking. And so it is incumbent upon the state, I will not say government, the state, because the state remains every time governments change. So then if it is a statutory arrangement that artists must be helped, then of course no government can come and just throw it down the bin. We need to up our entertainment. It's very, very, very important.
Right, Easy. So that's Amanziba talking, calling on the states. Yeah, sure. Let's also talk about the corporate. They call it the Ghana Corporate Sparkling Moment, where at the end of the year, all organizations, individuals are rewarded with what? This time, not particular award, but with a relaxation party.
So it's organizations from all over, not necessarily the country. Okay, so not necessarily one particular organization.
No, all over. And the fact that you've been working, you hear every night. Look at when you come to work and look at when you close. Are they going to invite me? Exactly, they will. You'll be on the list, A-list, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah, but of course, we have a report pieced together to tell us more about the corporate sparkling moment. Yeah.
It was a sight to behold at the launch of the 2015 edition of Sparkling Moment, an event set aside to acknowledge high-performing corporate organizations and individuals with a wine and dine party at the end of the year. Dr. Daniel Marking is the executive chairman of the event.
You should expect a lot of hilarious performances, one-stop shop entertainment with music, choreography, poetry, comedy, and sparkling personality of a special choice.
This year's event has Afro-pop singer Becca, high-life musicians Bisakede and Kwabna, comedian Calibos and Friends, and veteran musician Amanzaba performing on the night of 24th December 2015. So come December 24 at the banquet hall, the Sparkling Moment promises a spectacular night of music, poetry and comedy.
Please don't shut.
Well, he's a man who doesn't have an S in his name, but he has a big S on his chest. Kwame Jumajimang with sports. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Easy.
Yes.
And how you doing?
I'm doing very fine. How
it's
about
a Friday night, I mean.
Yes, exactly. That's why I'm looking very
So from
Friday.
here, probably have a little fun before going home.
I'm just going straight home.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a boring guy.
Well, the wives, man.
What's coming up?
Well, a lot are coming up in the world of sports, and the local Black Stars unfortunately failed to qualify for Rwanda 2016. It's been one tournament that we've been struggling to make an impression in the last few years, and unfortunately earlier this afternoon the local Black Stars failed to get a result in their game against the Ivorians. Ghana winning the first leg by 2-1, and Kumasi at the Babaya Sports Stadium was unfortunately lost out by a lone goal in the game played this afternoon. What that means is that the local Black Stars are out 2-2 on aggregate though, but still not enough to see the local Black Stars make it to Rwanda 2016.
Right, just a few messages on WhatsApp coming through. Some people are saying that they look like Aisha, and some people are referring me to other people who they think I look like. But keep your messages coming through. Thank you for sending them anyway. But that's it for the bulletin. And before we go, a quick recap of our top stories. The Electoral Commission had ended its stakeholder forum on the voters register with a caution that compiling a new register could prove problematic. The Prime Minister has declared the days of cheap power are over and that Ghanaians should be prepared to pay more for electricity even as government works towards ending the current energy crisis. People engaged in illegal mining could face jail terms of up to 5 years in a new bill currently before Parliament. And that'll be all for the bulletin. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. And on behalf of the entire team, I wish you a good night and a great weekend.